Nate Silver's website, 538.com, has gone online. Now, some of you may know Nate Silver's work. Most of you probably do, because he was extraordinary at predicting who the poll results and election results in 2012, mostly because he's a brilliant guy, great with numbers, knew how to extrapolate from the polls that were out there, weigh them, put them together, and make uncanny predictions. Unfortunately, I think Nate may be overreaching a little bit with his latest venture, and here's why. There's been a lot of controversy since it launched last week over Nate's description of his mission, which he says, the way he puts it is he tells that story I've never fully understood about the fox and the hedgehog. And he says, I guess the hedgehog knows one big thing and the fox knows many things. And Nate says he and his staff, they're going to be foxes. They're going to know many things. They're going to analyze many things just on the data. He calls it data journalism. Now, this to me is a myth. Data journalism is a myth, and here's why. Because nobody can go to the field of journalism without revealing some prejudices or ambitions of their own. The best thing you can do is be honest, open, and as we used to say in math class, show your work and let the public decide if and how your biases are affecting your work. This is very similar to Ezra Klein's new venture and what Ezra has claimed to do for so long with Wonk Blog and now with his new Vox Media venture. And Ezra calls it explanatory journalism. But whether you call it explanatory journalism or data journalism, there are a couple biases in that I think everybody, especially this audience, ought to understand. Number one, journalism, as it's been practiced for hundreds of years, is data journalism. It's explanatory journalism. That's what journalism does. It digs up the facts, it interprets them, it explains. That's all journalism is ever meant to be. Now, so what Ezra and Nate are really saying is we have a better way of doing that, to which our answer is great. Show us. Nate, in fact, has shown himself to be an extraordinary hedgehog. He's phenomenal at one thing. He showed up the regular media at interpreting the polls in a smart, unbiased way. So whatever his politics are, you can't deny. Nate got it right, the others got it wrong. But Nate has an ideology. Let's not kid ourselves. Ezra has an ideology. They're related, although not identical. It's the ideology of the technocrat. It's the ideology that says the numbers alone can give us the answer. But numbers need to be interpreted. Numbers alone are inert objects on a piece of paper. It's the context you provide, the human context, the historical context, that makes it meaningful. Now, both of those guys have shown strong ideological bias in the past. Nate has already shown it in his first week because he insists on denying the reality of climate change, and he insists on giving prominent space to a writer who's rejected by, and a professor who's rejected by virtually everyone in the climate science field. That's not data-driven journalism. That may be driven by his desire to attract attention. It may be driven by his personal ideology about climate change. It may be driven by something else I don't fully understand, but it's not data-driven. It's biased journalism, and unless he's right, he needs to be called out for it. Similarly, Ezra Klein and I went a few rounds because he kept insisting that his explanatory journalism at Wonk Blog was explaining everything you need to know about health reform and the bill that came to be known as Obamacare. But Ezra was omitting 18 studies that refuted his and the president's position about something called the Cadillac tax on high-cost health plans. So we had to go a few rounds on that. If you're explanatory, you got to provide all the facts and let the public decide. Now, it sounds like I'm knocking Ezra and Nate more than I intend to. I'm not knocking them for having opinions. I'm not knocking them for having biases. I'm knocking them for presenting a scam that unfortunately the liberal audience is particularly susceptible to. And that's the scam that says I can sit back in my armchair, just be presented with the facts, and come up with a conclusion that makes me comfortable. But the realities, economic, political, and otherwise, of today's world, including the climate realities that threaten our future, are not ones that can be addressed from an armchair or from a comfort zone. So if your idea of explanatory or data-driven journalism means let's get away from these ideas and these positions that make me uncomfortable, sorry, it's not the right time in history for that. We're going to have to get uncomfortable if we want to make real change. And that's what we'll be talking about in the next hour and in the next 3 hours and in the weeks to come, because I'm Richard Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.